G'day guys, Dom here. So first thing I want to say is a huge thank you to all the guys who picked up one of these surgeons from me last night. I did a quick video, posted up on YouTube, and I woke up this morning to record sales. So 30% of these are already sold. And I promise you guys a destruction test. So this is a completely messed up surgeon. It is heat treated, it doesn't have any coating on there yet, but it's heat treated and all that sort of stuff. And as you can see, the tip on this thing is super bent, just warped through heat treat. So we're gonna take this knife and we're gonna break it. Now these knives average out at 45 grams each with the sheath and everything. And for such a lightweight knife, these things can take a hell of a lot of use. So instead of just talking about what these things can do, I'm gonna show you. All right, so first up, I'm gonna have a sheet of the regular old foam paper and it's gonna cut this, no problem. I'll do whatever I like. It's gonna cut through it. Easy peasy. Now for something a little bit more difficult, a little bit more interesting. This is copper wire. Let's try cutting that. As you can see, it's not wanting to cut by itself. So, before we try this, just for a bit of fun, we're going to cut through some alley, just because we can. And that was where we lost the chunk. Right over edge right there. You'd think I'd learn my lesson about cutting metal, but no, we're going to try cutting out a nail. But first, we're going to get one out of this. So we got a nail. I'm going to try chopping through this. Obviously, it didn't do great against the alley, so we'll see how it does against the nail. Made it through. Don't do this at home, this is very fucking dangerous. This could go really badly, but let's see. So, there goes that tip. Let's try that again. Let's try it this way. Alright, that's in there. So I'm 85 kilos. It's kind of funny to slide out, but it's not breaking. So there we go, the knife is obviously broken, but we have chopped through copper with no problem. We went through aluminium with slight problem. As you can see, the aluminium just sort of folded around it and acted like a vice, which took our edge out. Not ideal, but at the end of the day, I don't think that's something that people are going to do realistically. Next up, we went through a 2x4. We hammered through it. We did a bit of chopping first, and it did that okay. We also basically split it in half with a knife, using a hammer on it to actually get through there, and it's okay. There was nothing broken on the actual handle itself. Then we went over here, and we started prying on it, and we actually pried this apart with this knife. And you've actually chopped through one of the nails in here as well, going through it. All no problem. Then we went over here and we chopped a nail in half. We did nick our edge up a little bit, but the edge and the whole knife still stayed there. After that, we went back over here and we started hammering on it. We punched a whole bunch of holes in there and the tip still stayed there. Then chiseled all the way through this, and the edge got a slight nick in there, but the edge still stayed there. After that, we got pretty ridiculous, and I hammered it into here as far as it would go. Hammering it as hard as I possibly could, and the handle's still there, and the force of me hammering it didn't break anything. What did break it was when my fat ass stood on it, and the weight of that was enough with all the leverage to snap off that blade. But as you can see, we did a second go where I actually hammered another knife in there. I managed to get a little bit deeper, and that knife went through okay, and actually hammered it the whole way through. And that knife's actually thinner, and I went through there okay, no problem. So there we go. As you can see, the knife is broken, but it's gone through steel, it's gone through bricks, it's gone through timber. I've hammered it through a 2x4, I've pried on this thing, and it's obviously broken at its weakest point, which is the bevel. The first time it broke was when we were trying to hammer through the aluminium. I think the aluminium was thick enough that it sort of just wedged in there. And then obviously as you're hammering on there, it acts like a vice and it's got nowhere else to go but to break. We could make the edge a lot thicker and stop that from happening, but then you're gonna start to lose cutting performance because the edge is just too thick and acts like a wedge. The second time we broke it was when we hammered it into the table and I stood on it. And I think again, that's just too thin of a cross section there to handle it. Maybe we can drop down the heat treat a little bit so it'll bend first, but then we're gonna start to lose edge retention if it's that little bit softer. It's not gonna keep an edge for as long. And realistically, as you guys saw, I needed tools to break this thing. I had to hit it with a hammer to get enough force on there to actually start breaking stuff, which is obviously nothing you're gonna do in the real world. Now you might wonder why I do this to this knife. Well, I think it's good practice as a knife maker to actually every now and then take one of your knives and see what your knives can actually take. Because at the end of the day, I don't just sell my knives to collectors and people on Instagram. I sell knives to some real dudes doing some real shit. I know for a fact, I've got a whole bunch of knives out there right now with soldiers right now. A lot of them have been deployed. So I want to make sure that I can make the best really quality product. I was worried about this little this area here with the cutout. Before I did this, I was concerned about the strength of them. And I'm glad to say that's still totally okay. It's not bent at all. It's totally fine. Without this part here, you wouldn't see the knife was damaged, really. So yeah, thanks for watching the video, guys. If you're interested in these knives, they are now currently available on my website. Stocks are limited, so if you want one, jump on them quick. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.